Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast for episode 142. Today we're talking about Mass Effect. It's got a TV series in the works. Wolverine lost its game director. Plus, we've been playing a lot of video games we want to talk about. And that we today, my friends, is myself, Patrick, aka P. Schwussy, and GWT Maury, the gamble worth taking. Back on Spotlight Games. Welcome back, Maury. How you doing?
Dude, I'm great. Dude, you worked it in. You worked in the acronym. No one else has really worked it in at any point. That was phenomenal.
We work in the acronym at Spotlight Games.
We make it happen. We
make it happen. Maury, you have been in the darkness for the last several weeks. You've been barely above water in the world of video games because you've been in the world of politics.
Yes.
The election's over. You can guess how we feel about it because I didn't want to stream anything last week based on the results.
Yeah.
You can just guess how that made me feel last week. Spoilers, not good.
Not great.
But Maury, I'm glad to have you on the show tonight. Cayman wasn't able to make it. Everybody send him some good thoughts. But it's me and the big dog himself, the dirty dog, if I may. GWT Maury. Maury, how you been?
Dude, I'm all right. So I worked for the Republican Party in this election.
Stop.
I'm kidding. No, I was in the hole with politics for the last 6-7 weeks, 10, 11-hour days, every day of the week. I didn't really get to touch my games. I bought Metaphor while I was in the job. I bought Dragon Age while I was in the job. I think I'm about 15 hours into Metaphor. I'm about 3 into Dragon Age. I've not gotten to play as much as I would like to. I've been playing a lot of Black Ops 6 to decompress. Yeah. When you're doing that all day, all that politics shit, it's exhausting. And kind of all you want to do is run a couple matches of multiplayer. So the game I've been running has been Black Ops 6, which is so shocking. I'm not a Call of Duty guy at all, but I love it. Other than the devastating real life Metaphor encounter that I've had, it's all right. We're chilling.
Yeah. Well, all of those games that you just talked about, I want to talk about them. But before we do that, how about some quick housekeeping? Because we got a lot of video game stuff to talk about, because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod, or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. Spooklight streams are over for the year of 2024. That doesn't mean our Spotlight Games streams are done. Join us tomorrow night. Or if you're listening to this when it drops on podcast services, it's already out on the internet when me and Rose play Fields of Mystria. If you're unfamiliar with Fields of Mystria, it's a very similar game to Stardew Valley, but it's got some new bells and whistles to it. There's some magic involved, but it's a new world, new developer, new farm, essentially. So we're going to do that. And then Thursday, Maury, I meant to talk to you about this before we went live, and I didn't. We had talked about maybe bringing back Resident Evil 5, but I'm putting a pause on Resident Evil 5 this week because, Maury, your boy Patrick got a little review code for the Rise of the Golden Idol. So Thursday night, join us right here on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod with Jordan, aka Cognitive Clips, riding shotgun as our dumbasses try to figure out a fucking puzzle game. So your support there would be appreciated, since this is Baby's first sponsored stream.
Come on, man.
Well, I say sponsored stream. They just gave me the code. They're not paying me to play the game. They just provided the code, which I'll talk all about on Thursday night. And then final piece of housekeeping, join the Discord. We got a fun little Discord where we discuss what we're playing and generally goof off together about video games. So if that sounds like something you'd like, click the link in the description or find it in the bio of our socials. Join the Discord, especially join the Discord if you're playing Pokemon trading card game Pocket, which I'm playing so much of, Maury, which I'll talk about, but I want to kick it to you first as our esteemed guest. You already name dropped the games you're playing. So I'm going to ask if you would so kindly Because what if I told you, Maury, that I've also played a little Call of Duty Black Ops 6?
What? When
A
did you play Black
game,
Ops? Wait, no. No.
game
You told me
that
that's right.
Pishwasi is not one to play a Call of Duty game. Way back in the day, I played Modern Warfare 4, Modern Warfare again, the sequel. Why am I not focused? What's going on here? But yeah, I booted up a little Call of Duty Black Ops 6 a few days ago. But what are you thinking about this game so far, Maury?
Dude. For starters, we need to run some games together. We need to find a time.
We
and
sure
tap
do.
in. I am enjoying it unbelievably more than I thought I would. Call of Duty is like my joke game every couple years, where all my buddies who don't love games like I do and play them fairly casually, they all get the game, and I choose to get it with them as a joke. And I'm like, see, we're gonna play this game. We'll play it for 2 weeks, and then you'll never touch it again because it's dog shit. And
Sure.
Activision cannot ship the glory that they want shipped in my childhood. They just can't.
Sure.
They can't. Sure enough, this is the first time that a Call of Duty game has been on Game Pass at release, which is very exciting for Microsoft. Congratulations, Microsoft, for your huge purchase. And so I decided, why not? I don't even have to buy it, right? I had to buy Cold War to play it. I don't even have to buy it. I'll just download it and I'll play it. I ended up playing the beta when the beta was out, and that would have been like prime Concord time.
Sure.
And I hated the beta. Oh my God, I hated the beta. I hated the Omni movement. I hated the maps. I was like, this game is shit. But when the game released, I was like, it's free. Why not? So I've been playing it a lot. I've put like 2 days of time in, if not a little more. Oh,
like
dude.
48 hours?
48 hours.
Whoa.
48 hours. I am loving everything about it. I tried the campaign. You and me talked about the campaign a little bit. It kind of put me to sleep.
Yeah. So that's all I've done so far. But so I'm interested to play some multiplayer with you, especially zombies, because I just way back in the day, I did play Call of Duty multiplayer. But I've normally been a campaign guy, but the last Call of Duty campaign I played would have been maybe Modern Warfare 2. Like, it's been a really, really long time since I played a campaign. I think I might have dabbled in the Cold War campaign or or like the World War II campaign, like when they went back to it after so long being away from it. Yeah. But yeah, this one, so many people online, the reviews were so good. People were saying like, this is the campaign to play. And what I learned is that a Call of Duty campaign just isn't for me anymore. It's just like that, because if what people are saying, and I believe people, but if what people are saying is like, this is the campaign of the last decade, it's just not for me anymore, because I couldn't get through like 2 or 3 missions. It felt good. It looked amazing. Like the polish of this game is
unreal.
Absurd.
It's unreal.
But yeah, it's just not a franchise for me. But you've been really liking the multiplayer. Can you explain to me, as someone who hasn't played any multiplayer, and it didn't become apparent to me in the campaign, what is Omni movement? I keep hearing people talk about this and I don't get it.
Yes. So Omni movement, it's so strange. It's like there's another 8 dimensions to the way your joystick works. Prime example, right? If I start sprinting, I can pull my joystick back and I'll start sprinting backwards. Or like if I dive, right? Instead of in the old Call of Duties, if you dove, you just could dive in the direction that you were running in, looking at, whatever. Now I can pull my joystick to the left and dive to the left while I'm running forward. So I'm running forward, dive to the left. Bro,
that sounds absurd. Like, do people's character models look as absurd as it sounds like they would?
They look insane. And
That's funny.
And we got all like the Fortnite kids on here now, the 13-year-old kids who like have mastered movement, and so like they're doing 360s in a dodge and a dive, and they're hitting you with a no scope while they do it. And it's just like, what are you doing here, chump? Like, what are you doing? What brought you to this game? So the Omni movement, it's a great addition to the title. I think it makes everything feel more fluid. It makes the game feel more alive. It makes combat encounters more interesting, diverse. It's good. And then the zombies surprisingly does a lot for me. I was a big zombies head during like the Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2 era of Call of Duty. And I think the recent iterations in it have been less than satisfactory, less than desirable. This is good. It's not perfect, but it's good. So yeah, I've loved everything about the title thus far. And yeah, I'm gonna probably put another like 200 hours into it before I'm done
Wow,
with it.
are you gonna stream it once you're ready to get back on camera?
I think I will, unfortunately. I just, nothing's worse than like being decent when you're off camera and then getting clapped when you're on camera. Like,
Sure.
I don't know. Like Concord was weird. I felt like I had such a good hold of like watching chat and playing the game at the same time. This game just requires an unbelievable amount of
I
attention.
believe that with the way you're describing how Omni movement works, I absolutely believe it. Also, special guest in the chat, the Dumpster Boy himself, giving a big shout out to GWT FYBJ Big Daddy One himself, Maury. Maury, let me ask you a question. As we give some love to our Dumpster Boy in the chat, because I know that he's been playing this game. Do you care at all about Pokemon?
No. Okay.
Like, there's not an ounce of your being that cares about Pokemon.
Okay, are you ready for a lore drop, Patrick?
Yeah, let's fucking drop some lore, dog.
Let's do a lore drop, okay? I was raised deeply religious, like borderline like culty religious.
Okay.
And one of the things that we couldn't do was we couldn't watch Harry Potter or read Harry Potter because magic, right?
Yep. Yeah, demons. Yep.
Right. But that's the thing with Pokemon. Pocket demons.
Whoa, monsters or demons?
Yeah.
That's so funny because
yeah.
that's actually when you say borderline culty, I actually believe you because growing up also in the South, the Southeast for me.
Yeah.
I guess Missouri is also kind of the South. Do we say Midwest for?
It's South. It's South.
Yeah. That's not the Midwest.
It's Bible Belt. It's Bible Belt. I mean, it is the Midwest, but it's Bible Belt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard so many people growing up around me could never watch Harry Potter. I've never heard Pokemon as a thing being kept from the Christians.
Get ready. I got an even better lore drop for you. My dad printed this like 10 sheets off of like a jank ass website online. Like so jank. I can't even explain to you how jank it was. And it was basically a story of a kid. Like the Pokemon told the kid to kill his dad. And he did. And it was shown to me like it was gospel. And I was like, I could never fuck with the
That's so fucking funny.
Insane, dude. Insane.
And I bet it was like a fucking Dratini or something, like one of the cutest fucking Pokemon.
Yeah.
Saying that
kill your
someone
father.
to kill their father. That's fucking hilarious. It's giving that video of like to drink the Monster Energy drink, and what does it spell? 666 number of the beast. Like it's that kind of shit. Well, so growing up, I obsessed with the cartoon.
Okay.
I would never say I was obsessed with the games, but I played all the games, especially the ones on the Game Boy.
Sure.
And I bought the cards when my mom would let me, but she was never necessary, or my parents were never like, you can't do this or you can't do that per se, but she was more of the mind of like, this is a waste of our money, so I'm not going to buy you a lot of Pokemon cards. She did, just not like a ton of them. But I never understood how to play the card game growing up. I just collected the cards, put them in a binder, showed them to my friends, made some trades at the playground from time to time, whatever. So up until this game coming out, Pokemon trading card game Pocket, I never really understood how the game worked at all. And I'm being told that this is like a not a dumbed down version, but like a simplified version of the game. But when I tell you, Maury, that this game has a hold on me that I don't think I've experienced before of a mobile game.
Wow.
Like, I have dropped money in this.
How much? How much, Patrick? Have you been naughty?
I've been naughty, Maury. And here's the thing. I would be willing to bet if the election went a different way, I wouldn't have already spent $60 on this video.
$60, a full priced game. Ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm done. Because at this point, I've put in a full game's worth of money into this game.
Yeah.
And while I have some great cards, I'm still missing quite a few. And I'm realizing that this is just a fucking scam. But, Maury, I have waited to be able to open up a couple packs live on the podcast right now. Are you ready for this?
Oh my God, do it.
So the way this works, you can choose between a Pikachu deck, a Mewtwo deck, and a Charizard deck. I'm going to let you choose which of the decks that I'm pulling from.
Mewtwo is so tough. Mewtwo all the way.
Mewtwo all the way. All right, let's open up a Mewtwo deck. You can open a booster pack. But this game, like, it's so good. It's so slick. The only real issue that I have with it, other than it is completely controlling my life. I've already put like 45 hours into this game. I looked up, like, there's a thing you can track how many hours you've been on apps in your phone.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing how much I've played this game. All right, we got a Cubone, we got a little shiny Weezing, not bad.
Okay.
This is a new card. This is a new pull for me.
I love it.
We got Psyduck, boring, Shelter, boring, Venomoth, boring. All right, I can open one more. I'm gonna do another Mewtwo pack because you said he's tough.
Do it.
Just, can you imagine if I pull one of the big dog cards live on stream right now? But the thing about this game, like, I'm so shocked at how, like, I was a big Marvel Snap guy when that dropped.
Same. Die hard.
I was die hard with the game.
Wow.
But I always felt like there was something missing for me of, like, I really love Marvel, and I love the MCU. I've played so many Marvel properties throughout my life in video games or action figures, whatever. But because they've never historically been a card thing, there was like a missing piece for me, a very small missing piece, because I spent like over a year of my life playing that game every single day. But because this was originally a card game, there's like this weird nostalgia with it that I think is kind of fueling this for me. All right, so this is I'll kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. When I'm not sure if this is going to show. When I'm pulling cards, I kind of tease myself a little bit. You see how that last one is shiny? We know that there's something good at the end of this pack. So we know that this is not a total miss of a pack.
Let's get a big dog.
You know, I would have liked for it to actually be a Pokemon, but this is a new card. This is like a support card for a certain type of deck. So this is a special card. This is like a nice one to have in the collection. So not a bad draw live on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamespot. But all I'm saying is, if you're not playing Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket and you like Pokemon, join the fucking what's the word I'm looking for, Maury?
Cult.
Join the cult.
It's a cult. Clearly,
you might kill your father by playing this game, but ultimately it's gonna be worth it. I promise you. I'm having so much fun playing this. And so what I was mentioning earlier at the top of the show, the currently playing channel in the Spotlight Games Discord has just, I was gonna say devolved, but it's evolved into every day we're just nonstop talking about what we've pulled, matches that we've been in. Like at this point, we might as well rename the channel Pokemon TGCP channel, because it's all we talk about in the Spotlight Games Discord. So join us, because there's so much happening. Catching up on the chat right now. Cognitive Clips just got a Flareon from a Wonder Pick. A Wonder Pick, Maury. This is another kind of gambling type thing where it gives you 5 cards that someone else has drawn. I'll give you a little visual here. And then, so you can kind of scroll through this menu of like, here's a set of 5 cards from Mr. the Human, friend of the show. So I could spend one of this little currency, which right now I have none of. And all of these will flip over and randomize. And then I pick one of the 5. And ideally, it's like, ooh, if you're lucky, like Jordan just was, you get the dope card in the bunch. But more often than not, because you only have a 20% chance, you're like 15th fucking Mankey. And so I'm in deep. Like, if you can't tell how passionately I am speaking about this right now, I am so fucking deep in this game. Here's the thing. This is like a top 5 game for 2024 for me.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It might be, Maury. It might be.
Wow. Is this going to crack your top 10?
Top 5 is a lot. It'll probably be in my top 10. It'll probably be somewhere between like the 7 to 10 spot, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so here's my question. Isn't just like the cheat code here then to get a guy who spends a shit ton of money in your friend group to just have him in that little section, so the chances of him getting super rare cards are even more likely, and then you just, you know what I mean? And then
I see what you're saying. Yes. However, I don't know the rhyme or reason to what shows up on the Wonder Pick board, because it updates throughout the day. So like earlier, John in the chat, friend of the show, posted a screenshot where every single card of the 5 cards was like a legendary, basically, which normally at most that I've ever seen is 2. But this, whoever the fuck this guy was, had like the best deck that's ever been pulled, apparently. That's awesome. So for 4 Wonder Pick points, John was guaranteed to get a dope card. 2 of them being like some of the most rare cards in the game. So that's the kind of thing where and like Jake in the chat, it's that little dopamine hit of like you see, like when I kind of pulled that a little bit and you saw the little shiny in the corner.
I get
it's
it.
like I know that this is going to be worth it. But then it just makes those times you pull it and there's not a single shiny. It's like, fuck, what a waste.
Yeah.
It's bad.
That was Marvel Snap for me. Was
Yeah.
like all that like RNG in there, dude. It just kept me coming back. I mean, I spent short of $1,000 on Marvel Snap.
Are you for real?
I'm so serious. I don't tell people this ever. I spent like just shy of a band on Marvel Snap before I had to put it away because it was so bad.
Wow,
dude!
So
like
you were getting like that the currency to like go in because you can't like buy cards per se in that game. Wow, a band just short of.
Dog, it was bad. It was bad. Like it was like every day I remember this would have been December, I guess 2 years ago, just after Ragnarok came out. Quite literally, I sat in my recliner because I was off of school. I didn't have a job at the time. I had a little bit of money saved up. I was cool.
Sure.
I sat in that recliner for 8 hours a day playing Marvel Snap. And I'd say every day I spent upwards of like $20, $30.
That's crazy. I get it though. Like
it's bad.
It's bad. With that game, the way that I fell off of Marvel Snap was when I broke my infinity streak, where I had been like 14 months in a row or whatever of getting back to infinity status.
That's nuts.
But then once the meta, Jordan and I would talk about Snap so much back in the day when at the height of when both of us were playing.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like getting to infinity for the first time is the hardest part.
Yes.
And then, because once you get it, the following month, you only drop like 30 levels or whatever. So then that climb is so much shorter.
So short.
But then that first time that I didn't get back to, like I was trying and just the meta had changed in a way that I couldn't quite grasp. Because for the most part, if I played 1,000 games of Marvel Snap, 950 of them was with a death deck, like a destruction deck.
Sure.
And whatever that meta was, that deck just wasn't cutting it. And then I dropped to like 60 or 50 that next one time. And it was like, I'm done. I actually am not coming back. And now I log in and I'm at like level 10 or something. So
same. Yeah, dude.
It's painful.
It hurt me when I fell behind the meta too. I'm sorry. I took us on such a
no. But that's, I mean, the cool thing about Snap, which I didn't fully understand what the meta was back when I was starting playing Snap because I wasn't playing any sort of like competitive card game. John in the chat said he did what you did with Hearthstone with putting a bunch of money in. I played a lot of Hearthstone, but I never played against people. I only did the solo stuff of Hearthstone. So I've never understood like what a meta is until Snap. But like the metas in this game are like, now I understand it. It's fun to actually engage in the meta and understand it from the jump of like, oh, I'm seeing these kind of patterns people are doing. I'm going to do it myself and try to like add my own schwussy vibe to it.
Sure.
And it's fun. I do have a couple notes about the actual battle system. Rabbit128 in the chat, it brings out the biggest kind of drawback with this game in the actual battles. If you happen to be the one to go first, you're at such a disadvantage. Like in Pokemon. Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's kind of surprising. It's like because with Pokemon, you need a certain type of energy based on the Pokemon strength. You have like a certain amount of energy that you need for that Pokemon. And if you go first, you can't use an energy that first turn. But on the second turn, they can use an energy and attack because now they have energy to be able to attack. So there's like this huge discrepancy between the value of going first and the value of going second. Like depending on how quick your deck is, drawing first, like you have already lost potentially.
Really?
And that's really frustrating.
Okay.
Because there are times when it's like, I know my deck is good. And a lot of it, is luck, right? Like a lot of it is you have 20 cards in your deck. So a lot of it is that like luck of the draw, especially if you build toward evolution. So like I need the 1 and the 2 to get to the big hitter 3 of the evolution chain. It's like, my, just keep not pulling it, keep not pulling it. It's like some of it is that, but then with something like with just not getting to go first or getting to go second, rather being a disadvantage, is something that they have to change. And I think the feedback is loud enough from the community so far that they probably will. Drupal in the chat. Welcome in, Drupal. Glad to have you. Says, are all Pokemon available, or is it Gen 1 / or 1 through 3 or whatever? It's mostly Gen 1, but there's like a smattering of some other gens. I don't know enough about the gens of Pokemon to know if it's all from one other generation or if it's just like a bunch of different ones. But it's like, this is a guess, like 85% Gen 1. It's mostly Gen. All of Gen 1 is there, but there's something like 240 or 50 cards to start.
Wow.
And Gen 1 is 151 Pokemon. So I guess there's the math there. It's like, what, 60%? Something like that. Gen 1. But it's really, really good. Having a lot of fun with it. If you like Pokemon, you should fucking get it. Before we talk about Dragon Age, one other quick thing I want to mention, and this is quick because I only played it for like 30 minutes last night, but I was listening to our friends over at Kind of Funny, and they were talking about Halo Infinite has like a Halo 2 event happening.
What?
So what did your boy Peachwussy do last night at like 1 because I couldn't sleep? Booted up some Halo Infinite and played like 5 matches of they've have a whole playlist of just built from the ground up redos of all the Halo 2 maps.
Nuh-uh.
It's fucking great, dude.
Nuh-uh.
And they've changed it to where it feels like Halo 2. Yeah, Master Chief, what I'm saying is true. Like they took away the sprint. They've changed the guns around.
No
like
way.
It feels like you're playing Halo 2. We need to play.
We should play.
Halo. Yeah,
we should play.
It felt really good. I was like, I'm in Beaver Creek. I'm in fucking Ascension playing some Slayer. It was really, really good.
Took them 4 years.
I know, right? I was shocked at how good it felt.
Wow.
So yeah, we should, if anyone out there listening, if y'all have Infinite and you want to squat up with me and Maury, we should put together. Fuck yes. Jake Twitching already down for a Halo 2 session.
Come here, Poppy.
LFG, the Dirty Dogs are going to get together. Before we end this section with a little Dragon Age, the Veilguard chat, shout out to Saysip in the chat. I was so busy yelling about Pokemon, he dropped 20 bits.
Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you, Saysip. That makes me feel very nice on this Tuesday night. You're a king. We appreciate it. Maury, Dragon Age, the Veilguard.
Yeah.
One of the most highly anticipated games of the year. A few weeks ago, there it is. A few weeks ago, right here on this very podcast, we asked the question, is it already over? Is Dragon Age, the Veilguard going to win Game of the Year? Because it was right before the game launched. And the press was losing their minds about it. They were so excited about this game. You and I have been playing. You said you've only played a few hours. I've put about 15 to 20. With those few hours you've played, how are you feeling about Dragon Age, the Veilguard so far?
Dude, yeah. I've already really enjoyed myself as someone who's not played Inquisition. And we talked about this actually when we were playing Resident Evil 5 together. That there was, and I did my homework, right? I saw some of those characters that were in Inquisition, got a brief backstory on what was going on with them, and I'm already invested in the world. I think it looks astounding.
It looks so good.
It looks so good, dude. It's so beautiful. I thought like the character creator was super in depth. Like I loved how much you could fiddle with it and play with it. I've enjoyed the gameplay as well. I'm weird with RPGs, like really standard RPGs. Like you have something like Disco Elysium, which is so RPG, and it's like my favorite game of all time.
Sure. But
then like a lot of times JRPGs don't land with me. This is obviously like more of an action RPG, and those usually do land a little bit better. I'm enjoying the combat. I think it has a really good cadence and rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I were to like put it up against like Metaphor right now, just because that's the only other RPG I'm playing, and obviously they're very different.
Very different.
I think I like the combat here a little bit more. I like the action element of it, and the colors are beautiful. The world is beautiful. I think the characters and the story that they're trying to tell 3 hours in to me is interesting. What about you at 20?
Yeah, I'm having a really good time. I'll kind of start by saying I only have like a little bit of disappointment about this game. And I'll kind of get to what that is. I think I kind of fed into the hype machine for this game going into it, where I've already said on the podcast before, like when we got that first re-reveal when we found out it was called the Veilguard. That very first trailer was like, bad touch. I don't like how this looks because Inquisition, top 5 game for me, one of the best RPGs in my opinion.
Wow.
Incredible story, incredible gameplay. Like the DLC of that game, like the way that they kind of lead into the Veilguard with the DLC of Inquisition is astounding. Like it's so fucking good, high fucking fantasy. And so I was like, you know what? I saw that first trailer, gave me a bad feeling, but then the reveal a few days later of like, hey, actually, this is what the game really looks like. I was like, oh, okay, I vibe with this more. And then from that point on, every single time they showed this game, I was like, this could be it. Like this could be somehow even better than Inquisition for me. And like I said, only 15, 20 hours in, I can't say by any means whether it's better or worse than an Inquisition. What I can say is there are certain elements that I'm liking more, but then there are other elements that I am liking less, unfortunately. The ones I'm liking more, I like you said, Inquisition still looks really good today.
Yeah.
But this game is one of the most visually appealing games I've ever played.
Agreed.
Their choice to make it that like not so realism, kind of heightened caricature art style serves this engine so well. Like every moment of this game looks so good. So good, in fact, that like the lip syncing I notice as kind of a downgrade because the rest of it looks so good that it's very noticeable that the lip syncing is not where I would like for a game like this to be, which is disappointing. Surprisingly, I'm having a very kind of like a love-hate relationship with the combat system. I think that I'm playing as a rogue, which in Inquisition I played as a mage. And since in this game you play as a new character, I was like, you know what? I did mage last game. I'm going to play a rogue this game. I don't typically like playing a warrior class. And Dragon's Dogma earlier in the year showed me that I really love a rogue class. Especially like the rogue class in this game is a lot like the one in Dragon's Dogma, where it's dual wielding. It's very fast. Your dodge is like a teleport most of the times. Like it feels really, really good. It's a tiny bit more actiony than I wish it was, which probably is good news for most people. But BioWare, in my opinion, is so good at that, like Battlefield RPG stop motion of it all, like the KOTORs, the Dragon Age Inquisition. And in Inquisition, you could play everything in real time. But for me, I spent a lot of my time in that, whatever they called it, like the pause mode, where you can set up certain motions for each of your characters and use certain spells and items and things. And it's like somewhere in between Baldur's Gate and like a Final Fantasy 16, where it's not turn-based by any means, but there's like kind of like this, it's like this weird hybrid of them. And this game, I feel very much is so much closer to the Final Fantasy 16 style of an action RPG than something like a Baldur's Gate or even a Dragon Age Inquisition. And I do kind of wish like it had a little bit more of that, stopping the game to set up the scene, essentially. But the good news is, even though I yearn for that and I wish that it was still there, the actual gameplay is so fucking fun. Like it kind of is a moot point because it still feels really good as it is. I just was looking forward to that in this, at knowing that BioWare is kind of one of the only studios that makes a game like that.
So I have to ask.
Because
you just said something so interesting. You prefer combat when it's slowed down in RPGs. You get to make those decisions, choose which spells you're going to use. I have to assume that at least on a combat level, you've enjoyed Metaphor's combat more than Dragon Age Veilguard's. Is that fair?
I wouldn't, not necessarily, but I don't know that I necessarily prefer one to the other, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I think there is, I like with Metaphor how that has kind of evolved the Persona gameplay of there is that option before you go into a battle to actually, like, sometimes you can have the entire battle outside of turn-based combat.
Yes.
And then when you're in a place where the enemies are a little bit more your level, you can just get an advantage on them, which in Persona, at least Persona 5, the most recent one, if you like snuck up on an enemy and you just got the first hit in, you would go into the battle with advantage. With this, it's like if you can get a hit in or like a couple hits in, get their stagger meter up in the live action setting, and then trigger the turn-based battle, you go in. So it's like a kind of a happy medium there.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is still something really, really satisfying about that kind of fast-paced Dragon's Dogma-y
Sure.
action system. I guess more so, not that I would prefer metaphors to this. I just wish that this game let me slow it down a little bit more.
Totally.
I guess would be my answer to that. But and like you said, like you're only 3 hours in. I can say like 15 more hours past you. The story is still hitting. And like,
That's awesome.
I really like where this is going. And, you know, it has the kind of, you know, some of those typical tropes of like it's not like a chosen one story, but it kind of gives that vibe of like, there are certain things where like it feels very video gamey. But I think the settings that they have built, the different locales, the cities that you go to all have like a very unique feel, and I'm sure there are more that I've just not been to yet. And like traversal feels really good in this game. It's not like Metroidvania by any means, but there are times when it's like when I approach an area from a different vantage point, suddenly I see all sorts of things that I missed the first time because they're like so expertly crafted and like things are hidden in like just the right spot. So it kind of, there are times when you have to I guess you have the option to trek back through an area, or you can just fast travel. And I'm finding myself more often than not trekking back through because I want to, like, you know, look at it from the other angle and see what have I missed? Are there other areas that I can go to now? That kind of thing. So I'm having a really, really good time with it. I think right now I don't have that like immediate, this is my game of the year that I had with like an Astrobot. But I think that's because this game very much leans on its story. And I think as long, if the story can continue as it's going, I won't be surprised if this ends up being my game of the year.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm having a really, really good time with it. If it's definitely too early for me to put a number on it, but it would be toward the 9 to 10 range. I don't think I'll land on a 10, to be honest, but
yeah,
maybe that like 9 range for this.
I love that. That's awesome.
Do you think you're going to keep with it?
Oh yeah, I mean, just your words there alone are enough for me to get excited. Like, frankly, I was going to play Black Ops 6 tonight. I might boot up Inquisition instead, or sorry, the Veilguard instead.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you think it could be your game of the year, I need to make sure I get through it. I do.
Yeah, this is one like a lot of people in our audience are really going to fuck with Dragon Age of the Veilguard based on the feedback we get and like conversations we have and things like the Discord and stuff. Before we go to our first story, continuing to talk about BioWare, shout out to Pinksy Gaming in the chat. He's very excited that we got you on the show tonight, Maury. But we're just very excited to have you in the chat, Pinksy. Thanks for being here. Sticking in the realm of BioWare, Maury, first story of the evening. A Mass Effect show is officially in development at Amazon Studios. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Fast and Furious 9 writer Daniel Casey is said to be writing the Amazon MGM show. The TV series based on Mass Effect, which was reported a couple of years ago, is now officially in development. That's according to a new report from Variety, which says Amazon MGM Studios is finally going ahead with the project. The show is going to be written and executive produced by Daniel Casey, who wrote the ninth Fast and Furious movie, and will also be executive produced by Kareem Zrake. I'm guessing that's how you say it, but I might be wrong. They did Jessica Jones, and Ari Arad, who did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. BioWare's Michael Gamble, the project director on the next Mass Effect game, will also executive produce the series. It was originally reported back in 2021 that they were nearing a deal to make a TV series. So I guess it took 3 years to finally get that deal done. And the rest is just kind of like fluff about what Mass Effect is and that kind of thing. Initial thoughts. I know. So I thought you were a Mass Effect guy, but I learned right before we went live, you're not. So let's talk about that a little bit. What's your initial reaction to a Mass Effect show, and tell me a little bit about your history with the franchise?
Sure. So with all video games that are then translated into shows, I am deeply worried, deeply concerned. The Fast and Furious 9 writer, that's the best we got. Family.
That does, as a true Fast and Furious fan, that's bad
Same.
news. That is bad
Yeah,
news.
yeah, dude, I love Fast and Furious. Please, oh
That's
my
bad
god,
news.
that is bad news. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, we're cooked. Like all the other names are interesting. They're all tied to superhero projects, like Jessica Jones or Spider Verse. Great, great, great projects. But the Fast and Furious 9 writer, I am concerned.
I
That
mean,
dialogue.
F9 is one of the worst in the franchise.
Oh, it's rough. Oh, Patrick, it's a rough movie.
It's
A rough
really
watch.
bad.
And that's like, I just got to say this, right? BioWare, right? What they're known for is their amazing dialogue, the amazing way their characters interact. I don't know that I would say that the Fast and Furious movies are great with their dialogue.
Yeah.
So the writer is concerning. I'm definitely concerned about that. I'm always nervous. You know, Amazon's also doing the God of War show. I don't trust them with that for whatever reason. Maybe they'll put me to shame. They did really great with the Fallout show, right? Yeah. This is the thing I try to remind myself is every time I'm like, I don't know if I trust them with God of War. I don't know if I trust them with Mass Effect. They did great with Fallout.
Yeah, I hear you and I agree with you. However, I think a really big part of Fallout was that it was Jonathan Nolan and his wife.
Totally.
And like, and so when the Jonathan Nolan of Fallout is the dude who wrote F9,
God, I was just choking on my Diet Coke. I'm concerned. No, and that's the thing. It's like every project, it's like they're only as good as the names attached to it.
Right.
And yeah, I'm nervous. The good news for me is that like something like God of War at Amazon is so close to my heart because I'm such a diehard God of War fan. I think that you kind of alluded to it a second ago. I am not a Mass Effect guy, Patrick.
Yeah. I'm so shocked by this, to be honest.
Especially because I'm such a sci-fi guy. You'd really think that
that'd be sci-fi sicko.
I am. No. I mean, I love sci-fi. It's probably like one of my favorite genres. I'm shocked to say that all these years I've not been a Mass Effect fan. When I finally went back to play the games, which would have been like maybe 6 years ago.
So this was pre-Legendary Edition, correct?
It was the Legendary Edition. No,
you did play the Legendary Edition.
It was pre-Legendary Edition, I think. I think it was pre-Legendary Edition. But it may have been the Legendary Edition. I don't remember. But that said, I tried playing the first one and like, wow, that game didn't age well at all. That game is aged poorly. And I really tried to enjoy myself. I think I probably put like maybe 2-3 hours in. And I just found that I was genuinely having no fun. And for me, a lot of people would say, well, then just skip it and go to 2. I hate doing that. Like, for example, like a sin that I'm doing right now is that I didn't play Inquisition, but I'm playing the Veilguard. Like, I hate doing this.
I will say, as a quick thing on the Veilguard, I am surprised so far at how much Inquisition does not matter to this game.
Interesting.
Like, other than this, like the bad guy being Solus, who like all of that happens in the DLC of Inquisition. Other than that, there have been 2 cameos for me so far of Inquisition characters, and everything else, it's as if Inquisition never happened. I assume more will be tied in, but so with that game, you're actually not missing out on a ton other than a really fucking good game.
Sure.
But Mass Effect, that one, I feel like would be tough to skip the first one. So I will say though, if you played this 6 years ago, if your estimation is correct, it wouldn't have been the Legendary Edition because that came out 3 years ago. This is my challenge to you. This is my call to you, Maury.
Call to me, Poppy. Call to me.
Give the Legendary Edition a shot. Play Mass Effect 1 on the Legendary Edition. See if, just like the Last of Us Part 2, in this, this current season of GWT Maury, that game finally clicked for you. Maybe Mass Effect will click for you because Mass Effect 1 and 2 and most of 3, I think would fuck with on such a like DNA level.
That's so awesome.
Like the story, especially of those games, and the like payoff to so much of the like choice you make and the routes you go with certain characters. Like some of the greatest moments I've ever had playing a game has been playing the Mass Effect franchise. And like I've said before, I don't know if I've said it on this podcast, but like if I could forget a game and start over, I might pick Mass Effect before I pick The Last of Us, because like,
wow,
there's just something so special And like maybe it wouldn't hit as hard today, but like there was something
Hmm.
so special then about, for the first time, your choices mattering in a meaningful way across 3 massive AAA games. Like
Sure.
the fact that there would be choices that you made in Mass Effect 1 if you played it that would come back in 3 in like a meaningful way is just so fucking cool to me.
Wow.
But
no, you've sold. I mean, and here's the thing, right? With all that you've told me about Veilguard already, this is usually how this stuff happens for me anyway, is that I play a game from a developer that I know is loved, prestigious, amazing, and I fall in love with that game.
yeah,
I go and play everything prior. I mean, every single thing. Like, prime example is I played a ton of like Dishonored way back in the day, but like never beat the games, right? Never played like Prey like that. Like, played Deathloop. It was my game of the year. Oh my God, that was my game of the year. Went back and horsed through every single Arcane game that exists, and like they're all masterpieces. Like, I love that developer so much. But that's what's going to happen, I think, with Veilguard. Is I think I'm going to end up loving Veilguard, and I think I'm going to do exactly what you're recommending, buying that Legendary Edition for Mass Effect and just doing it. I see Cognitive said something interesting in the chat.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Yeah. He said Legendary Edition did improve the experience of 1, but there's an interactive comic you can play before 2 where you get the highlights that can make all the major choices. That sounds awesome.
Now that's interesting. I forgot about that. And I think that could be. Here's what I'm going to do for you, Maury. I'm going to start up the Legendary Edition and I'm going to do the interactive comic myself. Wow. And I'm going to see, as someone who has played Mass Effect probably 5 times over the course since it first came out, because I played it like 3 or 4 times back in the day, and then I platinumed it on the Legendary Edition.
You platinumed it?
I did.
Was that an uphill battle? Was that challenging?
Actually, a lot easier of a platinum than you'd expect in the Legendary Edition. I don't remember what the platinum was like because I didn't. 1, I played it on the 360, but 2, I didn't care about like completion like that back then. But yeah, I got the platinum for 1 and 2, but I never finished my playthrough of 3, so I didn't platinum 3. But it's the kind of game where usually you can get it by the time you hit credits in the Legendary Edition specifically. That's awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna do that for you because I think you would fuck with it so hard this series.
I'm excited. I'm giddy, Patrick. You've actually, I'm actually excited. Like, for you, like, because I know you have a good idea of what my taste is. For you to say that it's going to work for me on a DNA level, that's high praise, dude. I
think it will. I really think it will. And if I'm wrong, I will do something naughty.
The Pokemon will tell me to kill you. It's great.
Exactly. Something that I thought could be fun, but I'm kind of over it now, was like throwing some casting options out there. But I kind of don't care about that anymore, especially since you haven't actually played them. Like, these characters won't mean anything to you.
I'm sorry.
No. I realize the way I said that.
I'm a fake gamer. He called me a fake gamer, guys. He just did it on this show.
I realized the way I said that made it sound like because you didn't play this, I don't want to do a segment. No, I'm just personally over theorizing casting decisions for this franchise.
Sure.
And to put a button in it, Pinksy Gaming says, I can vouch it definitely works very well with the game.
Oh, wow.
This is about the comic.
So, yeah. That's awesome.
So we have hope, y'all. Next,
not for the
news.
Show. Not for the show, though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Fast Furious 9 Rider.
Not for the show. Not for the show at all.
Yeah.
Next up on the docket, Insomniac's Wolverine game has lost its director. This is also from VGC. I got lazy. I didn't check any other news source today. The Ratchet and Clank leads will now helm Insomniac's Marvel title. As reported first by GameFile, game designer Brian Horton, who was previously named publicly as the creative director at Insomniacs. Did I just say?
I think it's Insomniacs, but
it's Insomniacs. No, I'm speaking a lot tonight. Insomniacs, Marvel's Wolverine title in 2021, left the studio in the summer. Wolverine is now being led by the design duo behind 2021's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, creative director Marcus Smith and game director Mike Daly. It's claimed Wolverine's previously announced game director Cameron Christian will reportedly remain at the studio in a different role. According to their sources, the change in leadership for Wolverine is the result of creative decisions around the game. The game's previous creative director, Horton, who previously helmed Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales and 2015's Rise of the Tomb Raider, has joined his fellow Crystal Dynamics alumni at Xbox's The Initiative, which means he's going to be working on Perfect Dark. Does it have a subtitle or is it just called Perfect Dark? I forget.
I think it's just Perfect.
Just Perfect Dark.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I'm less interested in the Perfect Dark side of this conversation, more interested in the Marvel's Wolverine side of this conversation. I feel like off the show, off the record, Maury, you and I a few months back, or maybe a few weeks back, I forget now, talked about how I was like, I don't necessarily buy that Wolverine comes out next year. Or no, sorry. I said I don't necessarily buy that Ghost of Yote comes out next year, even though they said 2025. And we kind of went back and forth about games coming out next year. And I think we both kind of landed on like, we didn't necessarily expect Wolverine either. This for me cements that. Like this,
Yes.
there's no way this game comes in 2025, right?
No, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's so odd, right? Ever since that Insomniac leak, which I did my best to avoid, but Twitter is a very vocal place, and my feed knows what I want to see, and it knows I want to see Insomniac leaks. So I saw them, and I saw what was going on, and there were rumors of a Venom game and Wolverine being whenever. I think all those leaks did was actually make it harder to figure out where these games are going to land, if they're going to land at all. Obviously, we know Wolverine's going to land, but like a Venom thing was just a very theoretical idea. I am convinced now that this game is infinitely farther out than any of us thought it was. The fact that there's still so much room for creative disagreement on the title is concerning. I wonder what that is. Like, is it? We could theorize all day. Is it that they're dumbing Wolverine down and he's not as violent as he usually? I don't know. What I do know is that if you're still having arguments about the creative vision of the project, you're nowhere near a year away from release. There's no chance. So this was just bad news, because if they don't have the Venom game, which I'm kind of thinking they don't now, I don't know. Maybe they still do. Maybe they don't. Then when are we going to see Insomniac next? Is it going to be end of 2026? Like,
I mean, it might be, because also with it being the Rift Apart directors, that also suggests to me that they're not working on a Ratchet and Clank game.
Yep.
And so it's like, if it's not a Spider-Man something, if it's not Wolverine, it's a new IP that they've not announced, which is also, I know Insomniac is big, but I don't think they're that big.
No shot.
And like, by all means, take your time. We just got Spider-Man 2 last year. In fact, that's probably ripe for a replay any day now, once we get through like the height of the rest of this year. But yeah, I think there was a lot of hope that, because right now Sony's 2025 is not looking much better than their 2024 by any stretch. And I think there was a lot of hope that Wolverine would be like that thing next year for them. And I just feel like there's no shot, because I feel like I would be willing to bet that the kind of creative difference must have been something around the way the game feels, I would think. Whether that's like story related, whether that's gameplay related, but I feel like it must be like a thematic, like vibe disagreement, because Wolverine is a pretty easy character, right?
Yes.
Like, not to say that he's not a three-dimensional character. That's not what I mean. But like, everyone has a vision of who Wolverine is. When you like, if you know the comics, if you know the character, you know who Wolverine is. So like, yeah, I don't know. And like, you know, way back when this game was first announced, like Cayman and I discussed, like, is it going to be like the X-Men Origins game where he's just, at some points you can see his adamantium skeleton. He's getting ripped apart so much. Or is it going to be more like cartoony, actiony, whatever? Like, so yeah, I don't know. I do have concerns though. This is the first time since this game has been announced that I am actively concerned.
Yes.
And like Insomniac for the most part has always delivered.
Always.
I can't think of a time that they've never delivered. Really?
No. I mean, they have to be PlayStation's strongest first party studio.
I like, the only thing I can think of is the Spider-Man DLC. But if that DLC had been released by any other studio for the most part, it would have been a great release for them. It's just like the bar at Insomniac is so high that because that DLC didn't really do much, it felt like a dud. But it still was more Spider-Man, more missions, felt great, played great, looked great. Like, it just wasn't S tier like so much of their shit is. So yeah, I don't know. I'm concerned, but
yeah. Yeah, I'm worried as well. It's weird. And I guess we just got so lucky with Insomniac just because their output for it was like 5 years in a row was just criminal. You had Spider-Man in 2018, Miles Morales in 2020, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart 2021, Spider-Man 2 2023. Like we got spoiled in that like little
That's
5 year
true.
segment that now I think that's normal for Insomniac. Like I expect a game this year from them. Like
Yeah, that's a great point.
which is so weird because it's like no studio on this earth is doing what they're doing at the rate at which they're doing it. So for me, I think I remember our conversation. I was almost positive Wolverine would be 2025.
Sure.
This tells me no.
Yeah.
That period at Insomniac is probably over. That was probably like a lot of coincidence that everything fell into place like it did in those 5 years. And I think we're going to see like a more regular development cycle from them. Not ever as long as like Sony Santa Monica takes or like Sucker Punch takes, but it's going to be a more regular amount of time in between games, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a great way to put it. Of like they've been delivering the goods. I think we can give them some grace and let them have some time to get back on track. Yeah, let us know what you think about Wolverine. Is this a game you're excited for? Is this a game you're concerned for? Pinksy in the chat says, you know, a game does come out next year. Monster Hunter, which I'm so disappointed in myself that I didn't play the beta for that game.
I didn't either. Yeah.
I really wanted to, and I just forgot. But hey, I guess I'm just gonna have to watch Pinksy stream the game to decide whether I want to buy it. Maury, can you believe that today, November 12th, we're bringing in a new segment to Spotlight Games? This week's Spotlight. What is that, you may be asking? Oh, is that a new segment, Daddy? It sure is. This week's Spotlight is going to be a quick hits section to end our episodes. It might be deals that stuck out to us that we think you might be interested in. It might be just like quick news headlines that weren't big enough for an entire segment themselves. It might just be a chance for us to goof off and talk about something not related to anything. But today, our very first This Week Spotlight is, in fact, news focused. We have a couple quick hits of news for y'all, and we can chime in real quick on them, but it's like we're not going to have a full conversation, essentially. Number one, Sony is ending its production of the PSVR adapter for the PlayStation 5. So if you haven't gotten one and you think you might ever need one, buy it before it gets way more expensive. They're only like 15 or 20 bucks.
Yeah.
If you think either you have a PSVR or you have a PS5 and you might get the other one, this is not for the VR2, mind you. This is for the original VR. Go get one before it's criminally expensive. Speaking of the PS5 Slim is getting a price cut until this Christmas, which is December 25th. The Slim edition, which is $450 retail these days, is going to be $380 until Christmas. So if you're considering a little PS5 gift for maybe the little ones, for yourself, your significant other, maybe you want to buy a little PS5 Slim for Maury. Maybe we just want to upgrade his PS5. We have until Christmas. Bring it in. And then finally, this is one that we might have a short conversation about. The Nintendo Switch successor. I want to add an H to a lot of words today. The successor will be backwards compatible for both its games and for Nintendo Switch Online service. So rejoice for all the things you paid for. Rejoice for all of the things that you have downloaded or whatever on Nintendo Switch Online. They will all be on Switch 2. Does this excite you? Do you have a Switch? I forget. Are you a Switch guy?
Yeah. So had is the keyword. I went and sold it because the Switch 2 is around the corner. I like to get the most that I can out of that before I get the Switch 2. I played my Switch a lot. Some of my favorite games are on the Switch. I am ecstatic that stuff is going to be on my Switch 2. Good decision.
Yeah.
There's really no reason in this day and age in gaming that anything shouldn't be backwards compatible anymore.
Agreed.
That needs to be like planned for, accounted for when you release a console that is going to have stuff that works 10 years in the future on the new thing. So it's exciting. What about you? What do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, it's the kind of thing where it would have been so wild for them not to do it with the way that they've been building the Switch's ecosystem of like, they've brought like right now, it's like the GameCube is kind of the only missing thing. Like the
Yeah.
Wii technically are, but they've just like ported so many of the games from those two consoles that like right now we're all just wondering like when is GameCube Online coming, because we already have NES, SNES, Game Boy Advance, and N64. Like it's kind of crazy how much Nintendo has given us with Nintendo Switch Online. So yeah, and especially learning that that's going to be coming over is really exciting. But then it also makes me wonder, and this might have been part of the report that I didn't read, but like, are they going to stick with cartridges? It must, right? Like if
Yeah.
it must be that if everything is backwards compatible, that includes physical, right? They can't just do it for digital. So it must be cartridge based again. But yeah, I'm excited. When do you think we're going to get the announcement for this console? Like, see it?
There's part of me that really thinks that they're going to put it like early 2025, just like they did in 2017 with the base Switch. I think they have to, because now it'll be 8 years. I don't really think you need to wait longer than 8. I don't know. They're not going to do anything with Keighley at like the Game Awards. They're so individual. They want it. Maybe they would. I don't know if their marketing has gotten any better. I kind of doubt it. I think you see it. God. I mean, I feel like you have to see it. I want to say by the end of the year, but like there's no shot. Maybe like the beginning.
I feel like it's a bit. Yeah, I think especially like because also they're a business with floundering sales is a misnomer, but like they've been open that their sales are dipping, and it's expected to, right? Like their shareholders shouldn't be upset by this. It's the end of the generation. Everyone knows that Switch 2 is coming next year, but I bet they still want to get as much juice out of the lemon as they can. So they're probably going to wait until the beginning of next year after Christmas to let our parents know that there's a Switch 2 coming, because they don't know. We know. Right.
Sure. Do you think it's end of 2025 that it comes out, or do you think they're going to do it before then?
Remind me when Switch 1 came out that year.
March.
It was March. So they announced it, but they must have announced it in 2016 then, right?
I think they did.
They must have. Yeah, I don't know. So I feel like it's way too late to be able to launch something in March. And I don't know, summer for a console doesn't sound good either.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
So yeah, maybe it is fall. Maybe it's like the October, November range of next year. That feels so far though.
That feels so far
Maybe
away.
It's late spring. Maybe we'd get it before. Maybe it's like a May.
That'd be cool.
Maybe we get a mid-January announce for a mid to late May launch. Maybe.
That would be good. That would work.
Maybe.
That would work. Yeah.
April showers bring May Switch 2. That's what they always say.
I love it.
That's what they always say.
Maury,
this week's spotlight, the inaugural. Can you believe you were here for history?
I'm honored. I made it. Guys, I
made it. God damn. That does bring us to the end of our show, though.
Damn it. It was so fun.
I know. A tight 102. Always a great time when it's you and me across the mic from each other. You filled in a pinch. Can't say how much I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed yourself. But those out there, they probably already follow you. But what if they don't, Maury? Where can they find you on the internet?
Goodness, if you don't follow me on the internet, you can find me everywhere at GWT Maury, the gamble worth taking. Come on. I usually stream regularly, but because I was working 11-hour days in politics, that became unmanageable. But you'll see me show my face a little more this coming week. Yeah, and we'll be jumping back into it. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
You can follow me at P Schwussy everywhere, and you can follow the pod at Spot GameSpot on Twitter. Although this is kind of a low-key announcement, I think we're done with Twitter. Twitter seems to be just not the right place for where I want to be these days. So we're over on Blue Sky now. I do have Spotlight Games on Blue Sky, but I'm realizing right now I should change it to Spotlight Games Pod so that we're just the same everywhere. I need to do that. But if you're getting on Blue Sky, go find us. Just search Spotlight Games. I'm sure we're the only Spotlight Games so far on Blue Sky since it's still so new. But we're Spotlight Games Pod everywhere else. That's right here on Twitch. That's YouTube. That is Instagram. That is TikTok. We'll be back not just tomorrow night, but Thursday night as well. Tomorrow night, some Fields of Mystria with my beautiful wife, Rose. And then Thursday, a little game provided by playing The Rise of the Golden Idol, a nice little puzzle game that Cognitive Clips is going to be joining for, so that I don't look like a total idiot. Because most people don't know this, Maury. I played The Curse of the Golden Idol, or The Case, whatever the first one was, alone one time on stream. Worst stream of my life. It was so tough to figure out the puzzles alone. And it was a quiet chat night. People were living their lives. I don't hold it against them, but it's like, man, I don't even have the chat to bounce ideas off of. I'm floundering out here. So I'm excited to have Jordan roll with me on that one to make me not look like such an idiot. But Maury, thanks for being here. Love having you on the show. Welcome back anytime, as you know. But until next time, we're going to be naughty and go raid our dirty dog, Jake Twitchin. So go show him some sweet, sweet Spotlight Games love. Just give him a follow if you don't already. But we're going to go do that. So line up. Let's go raid Jake Twitchin. And we'll see you tomorrow night right here on twitch.tv/Spotlight Gamespot. Bye-bye.